Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Andre from the Opinionated podcast, and I just want to remind you that we are live every Sunday on our Facebook page, and you can find us wherever you stream your music at the Opinionated podcast. So we drop a new episode every Tuesday. So remember to like, share, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy the show. Hey, guys, welcome to the Opinionated podcast, and we are your hosts.
I'm Cool Kev.
Kevin Durant.
And I'm Big Dre, and we have a special guest today.
Yes, we do.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Dr. Dawn Menge.
Oh,
Good afternoon.
we
Hello.
have a doctor.
Doctor. Oh, someone didn't do their due diligence.
Wow. I think
she's also an author, so yes, I
yes.
did my due diligence.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I honestly didn't know you were a doctor, and I am. This is the wait. Hold on. This is the first time we have a doctor on the show.
Exactly.
This is our first doctor and female doctor at that, so that's a double whammy.
I'm excited.
Yes. So let's
I'm
talk
excited.
about. Let's get into it, Dre. Let's get into it.
Okay, so we didn't get my bio then, right?
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Dawn Menge. I teach students with severe cognitive delays. So I have a PhD in instruction, so it's an educational PhD. I'm not a medical doctor.
Okay.
But part of what I do is I write a children's series. I've won 70 awards with it. Some of them are for the film festivals. They have screenplays written, and they include disabilities, which is, of course, what I do. Everyone in my book is a real person, and everything we've done in the books, they're real adventures. And so we're promoting literacy all over the world.
That's awesome.
That's great. Now,
Wow, 70.
That's awesome.
so
Yeah.
Dr. Dawn, we want to get into your backstory of everything in
I think it's Dr. Mensch.
Dr. Menge.
It's okay. You can call me Dawn. Dawn.
Okay.
Dawn. Okay, we want to get into your backstory of your inspiration in one becoming a doctor and also, writing books and everything like that. So, do you mind telling, I guess?
Well, it started when I was getting my credential. I was assigned in my math class to write a children's math book and a math game. So my original book was actually named after my student. It was Queen Victoria. We got a grant from Cal Poly, and we toured around and did a little skit to the elementary schools. And then I would go back and explain my students' behaviors or their disabilities. And then I was getting divorced after almost 30 years, and I decided I wanted to actually publish the book because teachers publish books. That's what we do.
Right. Absolutely.
Didn't keep it after my students, so I named it after my grandmother, Queen Renita.
Okay.
Oh,
Renita
beautiful name.
Watton. Her and her father actually founded a credit union by going door to door and getting their members. And so she was highly intelligent. She was very business minded, and she was a world traveler. So in the first book, it's pre-K to first grade. It has all of the children that were in our family. So this was in 2008. This is my son.
Okay.
And
Wow.
they are on their birthdays. So his birthday was in May, so I put him in May. And this is my daughter, Ashley.
Okay.
Her birthday's in July, so she's building sandcastles. Come
Summer
to find
baby.
out recently that she doesn't like the beach. I didn't know.
A summer baby doesn't like the beach.
What?
So, and then this is my daughter, Nicole, and her birthday's in November, so we have a Thanksgiving feast. And the first book, people are coming to visit the Queen in her castle. So she has a new visitor each month, and they do 7 activities. So I immediately won the Evie Award out of Colorado and started getting interviews, and people are asking me, well, what's your next book? What are you going to do? And I hadn't had anything planned. I didn't plan marketing or anything. And I love to travel. Got that from my grandmother, my parents. My parents had a sailboat for over 25 years. So we loved adventure. We loved the ocean. And so I decided that the Queen was going to travel around her kingdom and go to the different areas and meet the different people. So I'm publishing my 13th book, hopefully any day now. We just got done with the edits.
13.
Wow.
She's been and then I have a 14th that I have the illustrations done. I just have to write it. But she's been to New Orleans, and she's been to Kona twice. I have a friend who lives in Kona, so I spent a lot of time there, and I've written 2 books about him. We've gone on a train ride from Williams, Arizona to the Grand Canyon. And this is actually my grandson.
Oh.
And after we went on the train ride, It was snowing, and we went to the Grand Canyon. It was beautiful. Then we came back, put our pajamas on, and went on the Polar Express.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, and it was really neat, but we were so tired. And so he was probably 4, I think, at the time. And so he just fell asleep in Santa's lap. But this book is pre-K to first grade, and we also went to Flagstaff, and there was a Santa's workshop. And these are actually my grandchildren. So all of the illustrations are based on actual pictures I take on the trips. So these are my three grandchildren, and they're making teddy bears in this workshop that was in Flagstaff. And so that's what this one is about. I just published it over the pandemic. And this is my granddaughter. She's looking out the window of the train. And let's see. This is my grandson.
okay.
He's also looking at the train. There was a bandit. So they had a bandit who rode a horse along the train and got on it and pretended to rob us. And he actually held my grandboys up like this.
Oh my gosh. In true bandit style.
Yeah.
I was actually a little worried about it when I did. I'm like, I'm not sure if this is like such a great picture to have in the book, but it actually happened. He actually held them up like that.
That's not bad.
They had a great time. They loved it. They thought it was neat that the bandits were robbing them. And then this, of course, is my grandson who fell asleep. And so
In Santa's lap.
yes, he had enough.
So,
That's awesome that you can bring your life stories, your real life stories to life through books. That's pretty dope.
That's the dream, honestly.
Yeah.
so this is a question because there's a lot of people out there who aspire to be authors and everything like that, or book writers. So, with everything, I know it seems so easy and everything in writing, but what are some of the trials you faced when you was doing your first book? You know, the first time of where do I take my pictures to? Who do I? What I written out? How do I put this in story form?
From your brain to production.
Yeah. So,
Well, because I already had this written in my class, I didn't try to publish it traditionally or anything. I just found it was a self-publisher. I found one and I gave them the book and they got the illustrator from them. So my first couple of books, I kind of let them, do it all and kind of followed what they were doing. And then I got contacted by a publisher in France, and they were thinking about using my books to teach English. Now, because they're rote and the repetition really helps to do that, but they didn't like. I had done one in Alaska, and then this one went to 3rd and 4th grade, and so the illustrations didn't match the content.
Oh.
So that's when I started looking for other illustrators. And I actually found my current one at a book event that I did. I live in a small town in California, a mountain town. And so every year I would do their Young Authors Conference, and I would go there. And she was actually there, and she was doing a graphic novel with my brother. And I got her to start doing mine. And so now she does all of my illustrations.
Oh, that's awesome.
Networking.
Okay, about to say connections.
Very key.
And the one thing, the hard part is when I started, not knowing anything about this, and I wasn't really thinking I was going to be an author. You kind of run into people that aren't exactly honest, and sometimes
You don't say.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I was hoping that wouldn't happen, but
Right.
because all of my ventures are public and everything, because you're trying to promote what you're doing in your books.
Absolutely.
I had someone who was kind of going through my websites and trying to get ideas from my life.
Poachers.
Which is kind of strange. But doing that, I started joining some more organizations, some professional organizations, making this more professional. Because at that point, I was just having fun. I was writing my books, going on adventures, having a good time. And so I joined the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and it's international. And I recommend that to anyone who's writing children's books. You go there and you go to their workshops, and they are New York Times bestselling authors. They have won Newbery Awards, and they are the neatest people, and they're just supportive, and they help you along the way. And they tell you that only like 10% of the books that are submitted traditionally actually get picked up.
Wow.
Really?
So if you're going into this like to make the big money, that's probably not going to happen. You have to have a different passion for it. So mine as an educator is, of course, to educate.
Absolutely.
And promote families and adventure. But I recommend to anybody, join those organizations, go to their workshops, And there's an author, his name is Kwame Alexander. And when I was having the hard time, I went to one of their LA conferences, which are a lot of fun. And I was so tired, but I wanted to listen to the last speech, and he was the last one. And the whole auditorium was so crowded, I had to sit in the back on the floor. And that was the best thing I ever did. He has a speech called Yes. And he talked about how he was self-published. He did this, he did that. And he was to the point where his wife was telling me he had to get a real job. That's what he said.
Wow.
Been there.
And that's when he took off. But what he did was he joined any opportunity he had. So if someone asked him to be on a panel, he would be on it. And then something would come from that. And so I started doing that and meeting the neatest people. And I actually started writing book reviews for Story Monster magazine. It's an educational magazine out of Tempe, Arizona. I judged their literary contests. I would drive there before the pandemic and do a lot of, in-person events with them. And, I just learned so much from them. So that's what I recommend.
Yeah, because we kind of understand, because we're like a fairly new podcast, and we run into those problems and situations every day. We done reinvented ourselves about
20 times.
several times. So
You
so
gotta grow.
you do have to have some type of passion in order to want to keep continuing it, because everybody's looking at you like, you guys are not making money yet.
Where's the money?
You guys are not as big as you think. I'm like, you don't understand.
You gotta have a different passion. There's going to be some roadblocks.
Yeah,
there's going to be some adversities that you have to go through.
And you go around them, you go over them.
Exactly.
Right. You don't let them stop you. Now, speaking of adversities, how has the pandemic made it, more difficult? Which I imagine it's probably giving you more time to focus, at least on getting your books written and done in a more timely fashion, or is it like hindering you? Are we still in the pandemic?
Yes, we
somewhat. We're like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right?
Yeah. We're at the end of it. Actually, it was good for me. I hate to say that, but I was doing so much at that point. I teach full time. I was traveling to Sacramento. I was working with the state. I was helping to write and go over and evaluate the standardized test scores and the test questions for our students. And so I was going up there like once a month. I was doing a lot of events in Tempe, Arizona. So I was actually exhausted. I could not have kept up my pace. And when I first started, I had the goal that I was going to publish 1 book a year. And I kind of got really behind on that. So the pandemic was actually because we were teaching from home and we couldn't really go anywhere. I actually published 5 books. I kind of caught up a little more. I did a lot more interviews. I've met people from all over the world. I do a lot of speaking on our students and what we're doing with our students. And especially like in Australia and Jamaica, they want to know what we're doing with our students, what our laws are. And so I talk a lot about that. So it's actually was good for me. And when we went back to class in person, oh my gosh, I was so tired. It's like, oh gosh, I do this every day. I want to go home now. But getting better now. Things are getting better. We actually had a little epidemic in our classroom. We have like a little pod of several classrooms a couple weeks ago. So we had to close our classroom for about a week and a half. And so we're back going, but we've had to cancel some of our, our field trips and things like that. So I think we're still kind of in it. Right. But kind of trying to get out of it.
Well, I'm seeing from all your books that you took, like most of your pictures and your illustrations in your book are from adventures that you took. Now, has that hindered that process of getting, the different material for your illustration?
Well, we're kind of a family that doesn't do that. So I have 3 children and now I have 6 grandchildren, and my children actually set up camping trips every month. So we would all go camping, and, some of the places, like half of it was closed, but, we were still together. We were still camping. We were still, doing okay. And we went to the Sequoias. We went to the Grand Canyon. We went to Zion twice. We went to the beach several times. So we kept doing that. I spent a lot of time with my mom. She's 80 now. And we did a lot of traveling to the beach and things. And it was actually kind of nice because there wasn't as many people on the road and there weren't people on the beach. But one time we went, my occupational therapist was from Maine, and she was staying with me. And we wanted to go see the red tide. And so we went down to the beach, and that was at the point where you couldn't even sit down at the beach. They wouldn't let you sit down. You had to keep walking. And so my grandson was with us, and we were walking along the beach, and he was kind of dancing around in the waves, trying to walk with us and swim in the ocean. But we were walking, and there was a jellyfish.
Oh.
It was huge. And so she was trying not to step on it. So she was dancing over it. And I'm like, okay, you're going to be a page in my book now.
There you go.
So this is an actual picture. And we got to see the red in the ocean, but we wanted to see, it turns blue at night. It glows, and we never did get to see that. So that's still on my list to see. But that was one of the things we did during the pandemic. So now she's in my book.
There you go. Yeah.
there
I'll pull
it
out
is.
that notebook and whoop, there you go.
So you never know when you're going to end up on a page in my book.
That's good.
You go a lot of places to find a lot of inspiration. That's dope. I see you do a lot of traveling. It brings a lot of energy to the books that you put out. So, family, that's dope.
I was doing an interview for someone in St. Louis, and he was talking to his friend, and she knew who I was because my books were in the library. I did not know my books were in the library there, but she had been reading them to her son, and she actually got a second job so that she could take him traveling from reading the books. And, if I hadn't been doing that interview, I would not have known any of that.
Well,
little inspiration.
That must feel good to see that other people that you don't know or run into are actually finding your work, because that's like the greatest. That's like the greatest joy we get from our podcast when somebody just walk up to us, "Hey, you guys, I listen." I'm like, I barely even talk to you or even know you. Like, but it gives you joy knowing that your work is not that you're doing
your name
not
fruitless.
It's not falling on deaf ears. Now, even with that, and we'll get into like what you're planning on doing in the future pretty soon. But I'm curious about something. Now, I know you said you've been to a couple workshops. Have you ever been interested in kind of throwing some workshops or like putting together your own workshops for people, or like one of those events where you kind of teach how you come about your ideas?
Well, I did one so far, but I'm still teaching and all that. I interviewed from a woman from Jamaica, and she was actually doing some workshops for the high school students there. So I actually got on and I did about a 45-minute workshop with them. Okay. And, that was really exciting. So I have done that. I haven't really done more than that. Like I said, I'm busy teaching and all this other stuff. So.
Right. Oh, yeah. Because, one of the most important jobs
is
educating the youth.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's still my full-time job, my day job. Still I get to retire. So
that will lead to the next question, future goals. After you retire, do you plan on doing this like, bigger than, what you're already doing right now? Because what you're doing right now is huge.
Absolutely.
But how what is your future goal? What is your future aspiration? What are you looking forward to in publishing and being an author?
Well, when I retire, I actually lecture at the local university.
Okay.
So the first year we had the pandemic, I taught special ed case law, and and then I taught the teachers that were just getting into the classroom. So when I get to retire, which I hope will be in 3 years maybe, I'm going to work at the university with the new teachers, go into the classroom, do some of that field work. That's what I would like to do. And then I will continue, of course, with my series. And maybe I can teach some classes on writing children's books. My publisher, I think it was last year, he had someone from Netflix that was interested in looking at the series. So we actually made 2 of the books into screenplays.
Oh.
And this is one of them. And this is someplace we go every year. It's in the central coast of California. It's Halama Beach. And it's got camping, and this is a kite. It looks like a piece of pizza, but it's actually
Both are okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it looks like pizza, but the kite really does look like that. But this is my son and my granddaughter, and they're flying kites, and it has fishing. This is my son-in-law and my grandson, and they're going surfing. So I made this one of them into the screenplay, and this one also. Now, this is my little brother. His name is Heath. And when he was little, I called him Heathy Bean. So he's an astronomer at Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And he wrote this book with me. I think it was my second or third book. And so he wanted to be the professor with the hair, and he has bunny slippers. And this is the other one I made into a screenplay. Now, this one has disabilities in them. So this little boy is named Jeremy, and he has Down syndrome. So it gives just 7 facts, a little bit about Down syndrome, but it talks about Jeremy, who's living his life, and he's learning about astronomy. And, you know, you're learning a little bit about Down syndrome. Now, this little boy is Jake. He has cerebral palsy, and he's the son of one of my assistants. She was my great friend for 20 years. She was in my classroom. And this is her foster child. And so it has a little bit of information about astronomy and his disability. So that's something I did during the pandemic. I was on Facebook and I saw an ad for the Conquering Disabilities with Film Festival. And I'm like, well, I've never done that. I like to do things I've never done. And so I contacted her and I said, well, can I enter my books? I didn't have screenplays or anything. And she said, yes. So I entered my series, and it actually won in July. I went to Vegas, and they had a huge film festival, and I won the Special Recognition Champion Award, which is actually this one. I don't know if you can see it.
We can see it. Yeah.
I won this.
Okay.
Wow.
I got this. I always forget to show people that I have these awards.
Oh,
Yeah, right,
That's
exactly.
cool. Yeah.
And
Yeah, you got to show
actually got it.
off.
And so we went to the film festival, and my whole series won that. And they actually played my book trailers on the big screen in the movie theater. So that was like really cool.
Oh my God.
But so I started doing that. And then if you enter one and you get selected, then other film festivals start inviting you. So I started getting invited to film festivals all over the world. I just got selected for one in India, and I actually won one in Italy. And so one morning I was getting ready for work, and they were announcing the winners, and I could hear my name. I don't know Italian, but I understood my name and the name of my book. It was the Conquering Islands one. And so this is a handmade volcano from the film festival that I got from Italy. So it was really cool.
Oh my gosh. I have honestly a comment and a question.
Okay.
The first comment that I have is like, to me, I know a lot of people with kids.
My son being one.
Right. Okay.
My son is
with,
autistic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a rising thing. What's the diagnosis? That's not a diagnosis. Now I'm losing my words. She said Down syndrome. Now that's kind of stuck in my head, the Down syndrome. But like kids with that are different, right?
Developmental disabilities.
Right. So I feel like my comment is, I think it's so important because there's so many people who don't know how to broach the subject with their kids at all. I know I don't. Like if their kids are on the spectrum at any point. So to have the books where you can kind of break things down and really understand with your kids, I think that's very important.
Show them ways to understand without it being difficult.
Yeah, I
Makes
commend
it easy.
that.
Well, it's hard. You don't know if it's intrusive. Some people really want to talk about it and they want to educate. Some people don't want you asking questions. How old is your son?
My son is 6.
Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of new for your family, trying to get used to that. He's in school. So this is actually, he was one of my students. His name is Connor, and this is his dad. And they are at the Volcanic National Park. Now, he's autistic, and he uses a communication device. So he's teaching the Queen about his communication device and how to use it. But he's also learning about Volcanic National Park. Now, I don't make my books about disabilities. There's people in them who have disabilities, and it's just a little snippet, a little bit of information, so that if a child's reading this book and they see someone on campus who's using a communication device, which could be a phone or an iPad or something like this,
right?
There's actually a movie that was called, I think it was called Come Play With Me, and this autistic child who used a communication device, they were making fun of him. They were beating him up and things because they thought, they were like 8 or 9, but they thought, he gets to use this, and how come we don't get to use our phones or games? But it's not what it is. And So they're reading this and they say, oh, okay, so I actually need to address this. And this is how I'm going to communicate with this child. Or if you're out in the community and they see it. And so, someone like McDonald's or whatever, and they say, okay, I need to look at this because this is how this child is communicating with me and telling me what he wants. And so you're not being inundated with the disabilities. It's a child who's living their life.
Right.
Now, this is Ireland and Heather. These are real people. And Ireland has Rett syndrome. But Ireland is making these beautiful flower leis for her classmates. So Heather, her mom, is telling the queen about Rett syndrome and explaining why she has to help her make the leis because she has some muscle issues and things. And so you're reading this and you see this little girl, she's going to school. She wants to make things for her classmates. And it's not an inundated, oh, this is like a person who we have to stand out. No, it's a person who's living their life who needs just a little bit of help.
Right.
And so that's what I like to do because this is what I do for a living.
And that right there is so beautiful because at the end of the day, these kids are just they're kids, even though they have these disabilities.
Right.
They try to live their life as normal as they see other kids. It's not.
They don't know the difference that they're not normal.
Right.
Yeah,
you know?
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Their life hasn't been. Yeah, their lives haven't been introduced to like adults because as adults, we look. We've been through so much life. So we look at things differently. We don't see it the same. We try to put our own thing
thought
into
process is different.
Yeah, but kids are so innocent.
Life.
Yeah, kids are so innocent to everything. They're just like, listen, this is who I am, but I want to be.
Right.
I don't see no difference between me or you. Where as adults, you will look at that. Oh, he's
right.
This person is disabled, and I'm not.
We're focusing on that disability rather than the child.
Exactly.
When I worked in the elementary school, we would take our students out and they would play, in the playground. And the proctor would be giving the children these little coupons or whatever because they played with our students. And my student walked up and he wanted a coupon because he played with the special little boy. He didn't know he was the special little boy. So, they don't understand that. Hopefully they don't, because then that makes them feel
right.
Like an outcast,
right?
Like
and
you don't really want them to seem or feel like they're different.
No.
So it's definitely awesome to have education like that and be able to share that with your kids and be able to break something down to them in an easier format.
And this is something that hopefully you will get to do with your son. I teach 12 to 22-year-olds right now, and my actual dissertation was written on the federal goals. So when they turn 15 and 16, we start writing transition goals, their workability, their community, their independent study. And then so we start working on that because when they leave public education, hopefully they will go into some place where they will offer them social skills, work skills, all sorts of things. But this is something we do. It's called workability. So my students work at CVS and Walgreens. And we also get things from the local hardware store. They've been giving us things for, 14 years now. And this is my student. We live in the mountains, so they gave us snow hats. And my student is putting the tag on the snow hat. I think he did over 300 of them. He got really good at it. They give us a movie card. So once a month, we get to go to the movies and we ride the city bus, which is a skill we're teaching them to get on the bus. They're riding with the public. They're giving their coupons to the bus driver, and we go to the movies and they buy snacks and we go to lunch. But this is something I did an interview with a woman who was putting out a magazine, and she let me write an article about my students and what we do with them.
And see that, and that's the next step as a father is like, that's where I'm at. And that's where I get scared. I'm not going to lie. It's times I get scared because I'm like, I'm only guaranteed so much time on this planet, but I have to also be able to teach or instill in my child to survive in this world, because this world, regardless how we look at it, is a cruel place. And with him, it's everything is just pure innocence. He doesn't know, when he's in somebody's space. It's just, when he meets people, he wants to be in their space and look, and talk to them, and everything's a smile. He's never come up to him with like an ill will attitude.
So he has a lot of social skills, which is great for an autistic child.
Yeah. So that's, when he got put on the spectrum, they said, they knew he was autistic, but they was like, he's is not so bad that it would be difficult for him to go into the workforce, but he will still have his little issues, and hopefully, you will see his ticks. I notice his ticks when he gets aggravated, he grunts, or he gets frustrated when I tell him something, he can't process it and he doesn't understand. He thinks he's in trouble, and I'm like, no, I'm just trying to explain something to you. And I have frustrating days, but to see a book like that, to read something like that to him, it will be, it'll be great for me to like, here, look, this is us, regardless if this picture is not us, this is us. This is our everyday life. So I really love it.
Yeah,
love
his home.
Yes,
and I love the repetitious part of it. One time I did a friend of mine when this one came out, she bought, I don't know, 30 copies for her son's kindergarten class. And I kept telling her it's too high, but she wanted that. So we actually flew to New York and I did a book reading in their school. And then they lived on Long Island. And so I also did one in a bookstore. And there was a doctor in the background and he said that his son had autism and he read it every single night. And so it's the repetitious part that they really like about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
From everybody and parents like that, we thank you that there's people out there that is trying, because it's got to be dumbed down to me. You know what I mean? Because when it happened to me, I didn't understand it. And
well, it's new for you.
Yes, it's very.
You need to find out what organizations are there for him. He can start now, and they kind of track them through school and find out what their needs are, so that when like workability, they do it through the Department of Rehab. Their Social Security. When he turns 18, if he still has this innocence, you need to get conservatorship. People don't understand. They think, oh, if I get conservatorship, I'm taking their rights away. No, you're not. You're protecting them. They still, it's up, if you let them make their own decisions, they can make their own decisions. It's up to you whether you're limiting them or not, but you have it there to protect them.
Yeah.
So if someone takes advantage of them and says, oh, sign this contract, buy this $50,000 car, and they sign it, they're liable for it.
Right.
But if you have conservatorship, they can't do that. So it's there to protect them, but they're still open to make their own decisions.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad. Yeah. I'm going to keep in contact with you because I want more information just from me on my personal side. So, because I want to help my son along. That's my baby boy. So, it means a lot to me. So.
Oh, well, of course. You want him to be, to do well in life.
Yeah. Every parent wants their kid to
do.
That's just, no matter what the situation is.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty. Advice you would have for people who inspire to be authors or to be in your profession, like what advice do you have to them to give them so they don't give up? Because it's good to give advice to people who are trying to aspire to do the same thing as you. I feel as though.
Yeah.
I know that's one thing I met when I went to these all these workshops. There were people there who had books they had written 10 years before that. They still hadn't published them. And you know what? Just do it. Just go out there, publish it. There's so many ways now to publish it. Just be careful, who you're hiring, who you're working with, especially like the illustrator. One time I hired an illustrator and I didn't give her a lot of money, but I gave her money and I never got an illustration. I wanted something different. I also have a book. It's called Dragon's Breath. And it's not part of the Queen Vernita series. It was actually based on an experience that I had where a woman, she didn't want me dating this man. So she kind of stalked me for like 7 years. I had to sell my house and everything. And yeah, she had the neighbors coming in and vandalizing my house. It was crazy. But she came to my house and she said she was in a ministry and she said that I was a dragon slayer. And so it's called there's the dragon. See, there's a little dragon up here at the castle. And it's just all about being kind and my words are here. Being kind. And these are my books. And so this represents the author that was going through my my site trying to get ideas from me. Purging. And so she's telling the villagers, oh, I'm going to make this all good for you. And she's actually blowing and she meets the queen. And then she's not happy. See, she's very jealous in the background. She
Mm.
told me she would never let me date him. And so at night, she's blowing black smoke on all the crops, and
Oh my
nobody can
gosh.
figure out what's wrong. And she's telling them, I'm going to fix this. Don't worry about it. And so the queen and king, queen are sad. So he finally catches her actually doing it and banishes her. And so it's just a fun story. And I've read it all over the world. And I just love the problem solving that the children do when they're reading it.
I bet.
They're like, oh, why didn't, one little boy I was watching, his mom was an author, and I sent her the book, and they were reading it online, and he's going, well, why didn't the king just put a trap and catch the dragon? Well, he didn't know it was the dragon. And
Right.
why didn't the guards do it? And, it's just the problem solving is and so many of the children are sad that the dragon got banished, but
Really?
but children have to learn that not everybody has remorse. Not everybody's going to change their behavior. Some people, they say, well, the dragon didn't mean to do it. Well, yeah, the dragon did mean to do it.
Purposely.
But they want it to turn out like it's okay. And I think the children need to learn also that it's not always going to turn out that way. And you have to protect yourself. Some people do not change.
Yeah. And I'm
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure you enjoyed the fact that you got to make her a dragon. That probably a little bonus point.
Actually, the man, he's King Teddy Bear, and I'm Queen Giggles. He actually named the book Dragon's Breath. So I was talking to him the other day, and he asked me if I was going to write a second book, and I'm like, well, there has to be a dragon in it. The dragon's vanished, but it's called Dragon's Breath. So what I was thinking I'd like to do is there's a baby dragon, and they raise the baby dragon, and the baby dragon's like really nice and helps around in the village. I haven't got that far, but I was thinking, well, maybe there'll be a second book. But in the film festival, I actually entered the Dragon's Breath, and I won this award from Miracle Makers. Can you see it?
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
there.
So
Yeah,
there you go.
So I won that, and so it's won 9 awards, I think now. So
Okay.
I had a lot of fun. Well, I didn't enjoy the experience, but I made the experience into something positive and a lesson for the children that are reading the book.
There's a lesson in that
And
to begin with. Yeah, that's a true lesson.
And a potential for a little coin in your pocket as well.
Yeah.
Why not?
But,
It's the passion first, but later.
yes. I mean, the
It's
money.
the check.
If Netflix picked up my series, that would be really cool. A new
Yeah.
Magic
Dang.
School Bus or something Saturday mornings. Yes, I would love that. But you know what? If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's actually used. I have a friend in Washington who teaches immigrants. He works in a factory, and he teaches them, how to work in the factory, and he teaches them English and math. And he just sent me this the other day, and it's just so neat that it's making that impact on, people that are coming here. And this is what he said. He said, hello, Dawn. My student that I started teaching English to about 7 years ago spoke with me today. He now has a daughter who is returning 5 years young, and he is reading everything that he can get his hands on now. He just loves to read. Your book started a love of reading for this young man. This is the immigrant African native man who was born under a tree on the savannah in Central Africa. He had never written anything in his life before I met him, no letters or numbers. He did not know the alphabet or how to count anything. Now he's able to read the newspaper with ease, and he is able to manage his numbers well enough to budget his finances in his home.
Wow.
For mathematics, we started by counting the guests eating at the holiday dinner in your visitor's book. My student found that particular illustration was one that he could relate to. And that's my daughter in the feast. That's
Okay.
he learned how to count.
Oh,
Having a meal with a large family. I gave him a copy of the Queen Vernita's Volcanic Islands to give to his daughter for her birthday, and he really lit up. He was so happy to receive your fine book. You have had an amazing impact on this young man's life, and now the life of this child. His little girl will be entering school next year, being able to read fairly well, thanks to you. She loves to read and teach the father new words. They learn to read together. So what more could I want?
Yeah.
That's great.
Absolutely.
That's a nice way to be humbled. So that's awesome, man.
Well, in closing, where can people find you and your work?
I have a publisher, Rushmore Press. I have a Facebook, Dawn Menge 1, Instagram, Dawn Menge. I have a website, Dr. Dawn Menge. and a Twitter, Queen Vernita, and they're all over the internet. So you just Google them or me, and they're on Amazon.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. As soon as you Google Dr. Dawn Menge, everything pops up.
Yeah,
Everything. I said, oh man,
that's how it's supposed to
celebrity
be.
in the building.
That's how it's supposed to be. And
Yeah.
is there anything that you want to, anything else you want to let our audience know?
Just for the authors out there, get out there. It's hard. You're working hard, but you have to have the passion, and you have to be out there if it's a children's book, you have to be out there for the children. If you have a message to give, if only one person gets that message, you've done your job.
Right.
Yes. You touch someone's life in a positive way.
Yeah.
Well, Doctor, I'm definitely gonna get your book, because like I said, it would be great for my son, for me and him to read that together, man.
As well.
Yeah, yes, because meeting you was a real pleasure today.
Yeah,
it really,
for sure.
really was. It's like,
sure.
Well, if you want any author signed books, let me know. Just contact
Oh, that would be dope.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
They're on sale on Amazon right now. 3 of them are. I just bought a whole bunch because they're cheaper on Amazon than
They're cheaper on Amazon than
That's
if
how
you
you
go
do
to
it.
me.
$5
Just know.
You can buy Dragon's Breath for $5. You can buy this one for $5, and this one in hard copy for only $6 right now. I just did it this morning.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
So,
There you go.
yeah, so
And they're
get
all on
them.
Amazon.
okay, I would definitely be going to look into that. I'd definitely get one for myself. But
Let me know if you like them.
I will. I definitely will. But
Thank you for joining us.
For sure.
I mean, that's all I got, y'all.
yes, it was a real pleasure and honor in having you here today. We thank you for your time and everything, and hopefully we can get you back on here in the future when you do future projects.
Anytime you have future projects, please just let us know so we can get you back on here for sure.
My desert one is coming out in hopefully a week or so, and then next weekend I'm going to Death Valley and researching it. So I'll come back on with my co-author.
Okay. Yes, we can definitely set that up.
So yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, have a good day.
All right.
Thank you.
As well.
Bye.
So that was our show for today. We were your hosts once again.
I'm Cool Kev.
Kevin Durant.
And I'm Andre. Bye.
See you later.
Take care, Dr. Menge.
Bye.
See you later, Doc.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Opinionated Podcast. If you love today's episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, 5 stars. We don't want nothing less. If you're an artist, inspired actress, a songwriter, an author, or you're doing something that's interesting and you want to be a guest on our show, please email us at opinionatedpodcastddk@gmail.com. That's opinionatedpodcastddk@gmail.com. Thank you. Have a blessed day.